William, hopefully your favorite videographer. We are here at the Dallas Area Rapid Transit Board meeting, the agency known as DART to Dallas, Texas residents. As a service to the Dallas community, we plan to cover DART board meetings from gavel to gavel. Public comments are required to keep DART board aware of issues close to the ridership that they may not get through other resources.
Good evening. It is 6:30 on June 10th, and this meeting of the Dallas Area Rapid Transit Board of Directors is in session. Our first order of business is the approval of the minutes for the meeting of May 27th.
Second.
Any objections, corrections, revisions? No objections. The minutes are entered as presented. Our next order of business is the public comments. The Vice Chair will read the public comment introduction of the do's and the don'ts when you're addressing the board.
Okay, public comments. General public comments will be allowed at the beginning of each DART board meeting for a total of 30 minutes, and again at the end of the meeting when the 30-minute period does not accommodate all persons who have signed up to speak. Individuals who have addressed the board in the past 30 days will be recognized to speak during the public comment period at the end of the meeting. During the public comment period, board members may not interact with the speakers or other board members by asking questions or offering their own comments. Members of the public are reminded that their behavior during DART board meetings is governed by the DART Board Code of Conduct for Citizens, News Media, and Visitors. Personal attacks, impertinent or slanderous remarks, and boisterous conduct will not be allowed. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the board. The green light on the podium will indicate that you can begin speaking. The yellow light indicates that you have 1 minute remaining, and the red light indicates that your time has expired. Thank you.
That's
the last one.
Okay.
You should go last.
Our first speaker is Mr. Noah Shapiro.
Good evening. The topic today is libel in the board minutes from April 22nd. Simply put, libel is a written form of defamation. In Texas, there are 3 elements to this tort. The statement is published, the statement that's published is defamatory, and there's a degree of fault or negligence involved. The adopted minutes of the April 22nd board meeting state, and I quote, Mr. Shapiro spoke in reference to his constitutional right to take pictures with his handheld device and receiving a citation for taking pictures and refusing to disembark the train. The second part of the sentence is a complete and utter falsehood. At no time did I receive a citation, and at no time did I utter the word citation. When one receives a citation, it indicates that one has either committed or has been accused of a crime. The statement is clearly defamatory, and all 3 elements of defamation exist. As such, the contents of the minutes constitute prima facie defamation. I've brought this issue to the attention of Miss Shavira as well as Miss Nancy Johnson, and I submitted a written transcript of my statements from the 22nd, and I've provided a suggested revision. However, the defect has not yet been corrected. That suggestion was as follows, quote, Mr. Shapiro spoke in reference to the constitutional right to take pictures and requested that the board draft policy to support this right, unquote. That is my recommendation. On April 22nd, I spoke about the malfeasance of one FEO J.L. Johnson, and I have registered a complaint, number 483192, and that has been reviewed and supposedly has been dealt with. That was the focus of my comments. So I urge the board to immediately pass a resolution to correct the minutes of the board meeting from April 22nd. Thank you for your consideration.
Mr. Shapiro, we are aware that you have been in communication with us about the minutes. We have verified that there was no citation issued, and the minutes will be corrected to reflect that.
Thank you.
I trust that satisfies your request.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Ms. Linda Wallace, followed by Ms. Teresa Turner.
Good evening, sir. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Linda Wallace, and I'm here about an incident that occurred on May the 31st on bus 404. I got on the DART bus, and I had my grandbaby in the stroller. When I got on, the bus driver said, "You got to fold the stroller up." So I went to the seat, and I said, "Well, there's no handicapped people in here," and they said that if there's no handicap or senior citizen, we can get on the bus with a stroller. She said, "Well, that's not what DART told me." The lady in front of me, she said, "Yes, she told me the same thing." So I pulled this same pamphlet out, and I started reading it, and I showed it to the lady in front of me. And she said, "Yeah, that's what mine have at home." I said, "That's where I keep mine with me, because I never know when I might run into another fool or anything like that." So the bus driver was listening in on our conversation. She picked up the phone and called DART police and said she have a passenger on her calling her out of her name. That was false, because the conversation I had was between I and another passenger. In this pamphlet, it says that, and the contradiction to me is, it's not what DART told me. And me and the lady were discussing, well, why would DART teach you and train you one thing and they print out something totally different in this pamphlet? And it says in here, if it's a handicapped person, a senior citizen, you have to give up your seat, and you have to fold the stroller up. But if there's a baby in that stroller, and I had my grandbaby in my stroller, I shouldn't have to do that. But for peace sake, I did it anyway. And then but still after listening to me this lady conversation, the bus driver got mad and said I was calling her out of the name. To me, to me, it was just false. And why she made false accusation like that, I don't know. The police came, I explained to him, and I explained to him about this here. He said, that's her bus, she can do what she want to do. Wait, this is DART's bus. She's supposed to, me understand that I have that she's supposed to go by DART's rules and regulations, and why would DART print one thing and train her for another? So my problem with anything like that, I don't think it's bus drivers, just because they have the authority or the power to do things, to make false accusation against a passenger because they get angry about it, and then to say, well, that's what DART told me. No, that's not what DART told her. And that's the problem I had, the false accusation she said made, telling the police I was calling her out her name. So that's the rest of my case on that. So,
Thank you for coming this evening. Would you please speak with Mr. Maurice Bell?
Mr. Maurice Bell?
That fellow standing up, waving his hand.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Our next speaker is Ms. Teresa Turner, followed by Mr. Malik Abdul Rahman.
Good evening. I'm here today because yesterday, as I was crossing in the crosswalk with the walk light on the corner of Commerce and Griffin, as I reached the other side of the street towards the courthouse, the next lane, which was the lane prior to stepping on the sidewalk, bus number 39113 pulled in front of me as he was turning from Griffin onto Commerce. He did not give me the right-of-way, which I had, and he was this far from my face. To me, that is totally reckless and totally uncalled for, when he could have waited until I finished crossing the road, since I did have the right-of-way. That's my complaint for today. Thank you. When I talked to the customer service, I called in and I filed a complaint. He seemed disinterested. He said, we'll take your complaint and we'll give it to the supervisor. So I didn't feel as if he thought my complaint was valid or if there was a sense of urgency. If this individual was having a bad day, he should have been taken off the road before he caused injury to another person on the highway. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Ms. Turner, would you please talk with Mr. John Rowan, who's waving his hand? Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Malik Abdul Rahman.
Good evening. I don't have time to air this complaint. However, I'll try to be concise. Its ramifications is wide and broad. This agenda do not address the complaints that I would like to complain. However, I'm a patron of DART, and I always have been. I've been thrown out of the way. I had a paratransit pass, but they, I think the individuals that you have employed down here have thrown it away. And they have, I've been maybe about 2 years trying to get it again. However, I received a citation for not having fare, the appropriate fare. I catch the bus to get downtown, and I ride the bus to the suburban parts, Denton, North Carrollton, Parker Road, Rowlett, all the way out. I go all the way out. And I see virtually from Pearl Street back to Ledbetter Road, we have fare inspectors, predominantly African American, blacks, or however you want to call them. And they charge, they bleed the blacks or the African American. They make sure that they have something to charge them with to give them a citation or a ticket. I buy the ticket every morning before I board these buses to come to these trains. And I have a lot of business in town. I'll be at banks and stuff like that and pulling stuff out of my pocket. And it's possibility that sometimes I may misplace my ticket. But if I find out I did, I will repurchase another ticket. Because you don't ride a bus or train without a ticket in town, because you have nothing but blacks down here issuing citations, $300 citations, and I don't have that. When I go out to Parker Road, North Carrollton out there, boarding from here, from Ackett, they come in this way, but they go out that way, Caucasians. They have no fare inspectors out there asking you, Caucasians, whites, however, Anglo-Saxons, African-Americans, they have no fare inspectors on the platforms or on the buses or on the trains asking anybody concerning, do they have a ticket? They only have it from Pearl Street back to Ledbetter Station. And they bleeding everybody. They issue tickets and stuff. And they charging me every time, and I pay.
Sir, would you visit with Chief Deputy Wallings? He's the police officer with his hand up back there. Deputy Wallings? Thank you very much.
What about my paratransit pass in the forms that I've been paying, that they've been charging me for?
Would you also speak with Tammy Himfling? That lady. Our next speaker is Ms. Sandra Dunnigan.
Okay, I wanted to complain on the number 12 going out the Westmont, Colorado area. I was on it the other day on the 357 bus going to town, and my friend lives at Westmont, Colorado, and the bus came by and flagged me and just went right on past me, and we have to step out almost in the middle of the street to get him because cars be pulled all the way on the side of the street, parked on the side of the street, and there's a bus bench there, and I was there waiting for the bus, and he just went on past and wouldn't even stop. And when I got the next one and got up the way, he had passed another lady up, and it's an African-American one, and he will not, and the other day, one passed my friend up, and we be at the bus stop waiting on the bus, and they pass us up. Coming off Westmont, Colorado area. It's a bus driver that does not stop. And he keeps on going and won't pick up nobody. And then I want to say something. I live downtown Garland, down by the train, and they got the 377, and they got a 380 and a 566 on little buses, on small ones, and they'll run the 377 on weekdays up to day on a big bus for so long, but they don't run it in the afternoon, and we get a whole lot of riders on the 377, 380, and 566, and they need to have a big bus back on it, because they loads up, they fills up on the buses. And then that 378, they run it every hour on the hour during the day. On the weekday, they need to run it every 30 minutes because they loads up all the way standing room. They get a whole lot of riders, and they need to get every 30 minutes on that one, and they need to do something about the 377 all day on the big bus, not just part of the day, and 380 and 566. Because we got wheelchairs, walkers, rollers, and everything ride them. In that 380, I know 2 of them in wheelchairs, and one of them is about a 3 to 4X that takes up room, that ride the bus. And they own it all the time. Walkers, strollers, because I have a rolling cart I carry with groceries, and I ride them. Thank you.
Ms. Dunnigan, would you please see Rob Smith, who's waving, the gentleman in the blue shirt? Thank you very much for coming. And
I want you to send someone out and check out these 3 buses. And the 4, really.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I'm a customer of the riding since 79. I know
Our next speaker is Mr. Ben Hipp, and following Mr. Hipp, Ms. Mata Yemen.
Well, thanks the board for allowing me to visit with you this afternoon. It's totally spontaneous. I didn't do any planning or documentation on this, but I'd like to visit just briefly about the small buses and the way they're operated. Now, I take the 528 bus up and down Northwest Highway, and I also take the 521 bus over at Uptown when I go to work. So by chance, I ride 2 buses, so the small buses. And this has been an ongoing problem, really. I think the buses are kind of being operated just a little bit too aggressively by the drivers. What's happening most often is that when I get on, the door closes and they punch the accelerator very hard, and they're off. And they don't allow myself or anyone else, for that matter, to make sure they're in their seats. The buses are small. When you go inside, there's a narrow passageway, and it's a challenge. And I have not fallen yet, but I can see myself doing so. This kind of thing happened to my grandmother, not in Dallas, but she was very severely injured by a bus driver who took off too aggressively. And in this case this afternoon, there was a driver the 528 was trying to make the train because one of the passengers in the back wanted to make the train at the Bachman station. And she took off very hard, and she was really throwing a lot of passengers around. And when she finally made, I asked her, do you have a CDL license? She said yes. Well, a lot of the people I've been told don't have CDLs. And also what happens is that when she pulled into the Bachman station, she didn't bother to stop into the slotted spot where they have each one of the markers. She just stopped and let people out there at the stop sign. And another time that happened when I'm coming south on Cole, and the driver, there's a lot of parking up and down the uptown area there, and she came to a very sharp stop, and there's the passenger seat that's directly behind the driver on the left-hand side has no barrier or any way to grab a hold of, and I had to grab a hold of underneath the seat to keep from falling forward. It's a real danger, and I can see somebody falling forward. There's no cushioning or anything on that. And there's an example of that also, not with a bus, but certainly in history. I remember as the D-Day and Memorial Day just happened, I was thinking a lot about military in World War II. General Patton broke his neck in Germany by falling forward in a limousine because he didn't have any seatbelt or anything. I can see something like that happening in one of the small buses very easily. And I think there's a danger, and I think they just need to slow down and remember that passengers are behind there. That's about all I have to say.
Mr. Hipp, would you see Mr. John Roan?
Okay.
And
thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Yemen, I presume.
I have a complaint on the Dart Police. Today I was given a citation because my bus pass was up. I got on the Dartwell Orange line at 226, and they didn't arrive on the Dartwell until that was at Mockingbird Station, and they got on somewhere downtown. The first person did, and he was standing where he can look dead at me, and we went to another stop, and then the lady got on with him, and then it was close to time for mine to get off to go home because I know I couldn't use that pass again. And then they want to stop me and tell, she's the one who really did most of the talking, saying that she could give me a citation. Where am I going? I said, I'm going home. And that's all I need to tell her because the time is up. So either, she can give me a citation or not. I mean, that's up to her. And all she had to say is that, well, then just go home, okay, and just go on, She could tell that time that I was. Of course, she came back and told me that it was 2:27 when I got on. I said, yeah, but don't tell me that because the pass was active. So she gave me a citation. We were going back and forth because it doesn't make sense for Dart to, it seemed like it's a cheap way to hurt the customers because the pass is up, the time limit. But you got on before the time, although it's taking it. We already paid for it. Like we didn't get it for free. We paid for the pass, and it's good up until that moment. But you already own the bus or you already own the Dart. Well, right, it was good. So you should not, your customers should not be treated in such a way. Doesn't that make sense to you? I mean, doesn't it? I mean, you're using it at the time of service. Now, it takes time to go anywhere, home, driving, whatever. But it's good when you first get on there. Now, afterwards, I mean, that's a different story. And charging someone $50 for such a petty, stupid thing? I mean, it's not like I could swipe it, because if I did, I know she couldn't stop me there or say something to me. That'd be wrong for her to do.
Ms. Yemen, would you see Deputy Chief Wallings?
Okay. And also, may I say another thing? Sorry. I don't like it when the Dart Police get on. They facing you just like I'm facing you, on the dark where people looking at them and they staring at you. That's very cool and it's like a form of harassment to the customers when our backs should be toward them and they looking at you, because we can't see behind us. And I appreciate if they could stop that. All of them are not mean, I know that, because I have one or two, some very nice ones. But if they not get on and stare at you, be nice.
Deputy Chief Wallens. There is one remaining speaker who wishes. There is one remaining speaker who wishes to speak at the end of the meeting. We have some items that we need to attend to. The first item is authorization for the to delegate contracting officer authority and approval of the contract modification for employee life and AD&D insurance. Dr. Christians came through your committee.
Mr. Chairman, there's 3 items, number 3, 4, and 7.
But you see, I'm consistent.
Huh?
I'm consistent. And
yes.
Yeah.
Is it all right that we would take all of those?
Yes, that'll be fine.
Well, I so move, because they came through the committee of the whole, that we approve item number 3, number 4, and number 7.
That was a motion to approve them?
To approve those 3,
Okay.
yes.
And is there
in one motion.
And seconded by Mr. Carazales. All those in favor, please signify so by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed signify so by saying no. Motion carries. The next 2 items, Mr. Carazales, came through your committee.
Yes, Chairman. They did both items. I would like to move those items together forward. 4 and 5 is one vote. If there's no objections, they came through my committee and they were.
5 and 6.
I'm sorry.
Those are items 5 and
6.
It's contract award for the light rail vehicle 15-year track brake overhaul kits and the contract award for the light rail vehicle 15-year door overhaul kits.
Yes, sir.
I second it.
All those in favor, please signify so by saying yes.
Yes.
And that's for both items 5 and 6. Thank you very much. Motion. All those opposed signify so by saying no. The motion carries. The 8th item is Ms. Gates, came to your committee.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Item 8 is the approval of a 3-year contract for Mesquite Bus Service with service modifications. This item has been vetted through the Planning Committee as well as the Committee of the Whole, initial and final consideration, and I move its approval this evening.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify so by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed signify so by saying no. Any abstentions? Mr. Cheney abstaining. The motion carries. That concludes our voting items. The last remaining speaker is Ms. Deborah Donnell. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Deborah Danielle, and I'm here to talk about, they need more new buses, and the bus drivers, they are good bus drivers, and I thank God for the bus driver in the train, because a lot of people need transportation and don't have transportation to get around. And people are real sickly. Most people are sickly and need help. And the bus drivers, they do help. And the transit bus, bus help too with people with wheelchairs and walking kind and crutches. And they need to paint these stations. They need to paint and clean up all these stations around And I thank all the bus drivers, and I thank Dark Henry Ride. And more people need to ride the Dark Henry Ride because people with wheelchairs, walking cane, and crutches, and the buses be real full, too full. Peoples, and most people need to ride the Henry Ride. And I came here last, I think it was last month, and I was telling you all about, I had bumped my head real hard when the bus driver jammed on his brake real hard, and my head hit the iron steel deal, and I have pains in my head from that. And the lady, I talked to the head lady, Miss Carolyn, I think her name Gibson. I talked to her, and she said, well, I wrote you a check for $50. I said, I need more money. I said, you're supposed to give me more money. So you all let me talk to Mr. Costello. I think it was last month. You let me talk to him. But he didn't do anything. He had went out of town. And Miss Carolyn, I talked to Miss Carolyn. She said that, well, I gave you a check for $50. That's all you're supposed to get. I said, no, I need a check. Y'all have cameras on these buses. And you can see why I hit my head against the iron deal when the bus driver jammed on the brake. She said, well, that's been 2 years ago. I said, it doesn't matter. You still supposed to have wrote me a check. And I need the money because my head is hurting. And I think she is wrong for saying that $50 check. If that was a white person, she would have wrote a check, a big check, more than $50. She's doing it because I'm black, and I don't think it's right. And when I talk,
Ms. Donnell, thank you very much for coming and telling us about this.
Well, could they write me more money, give me more money? Because y'all have cameras on these buses. Can they write a check?
Would you talk with David Leininger?
David Leininger?
Yes.
What is he going to do?
Well, he's going to listen to you. And I don't know that he's going to write you a check, but he's sitting right there, and if you'll talk to him.
I don't think it's right. I don't think it's so.
She was here. Yeah, she was here.
She wrote. She wants some pipe. So we got to write
There being no further speakers, this meeting is adjourned.
This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer. We love comments. If you don't like the way Dart is handling things, lay it out for everyone to see. If you like or hate this video, tell us. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, tell us. We even love it when you call. Better yet, like or follow us on Facebook or subscribe to us on YouTube and get instant notices of all our videos the